and thank you for listening in to CLDF Chatter. To give you a quick overview, CLDF is a national charity which supports families whose child has a childhood liver disease, and as part of the charity we have a young people service which provides support to 11 to 24-year-olds living with a liver condition. The Young People Service has an online group called Hive and Hive Plus on Facebook, which enables members to connect online and share experiences. I am the Young People's Digital Engagement Officer at CLDF, Louise. Today we have Katie, who is the Young People Service intern at CLDF. And we would like to give a warm welcome to Mollie and Gemma, who have been supported by the charity and formed a lovely friendship on their liver journey. So ladies, do you want to tell us about yourself and your conditions?
Yeah. Do you want me to go first? So I'm Gemma, I'm 21. I was diagnosed with a rare chronic liver condition called Wilson's disease at age 7. And that basically means that my body doesn't have the ability to process copper and secrete it through bile. So I was diagnosed at an early age, and my journey has been more to do with kind of living with the aftermath of my diagnosis and kind of managing the social elements and implications that a disease has. And I've been on medication for most of my life now. But yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, currently at uni and really enjoying it. It's going well.
Excellent, Gemma. Thank you for sharing, and I can't wait to hear more about your story. Mollie, would you like to say hello?
Hi, I'm Mollie, I'm 20, and in 2019 I had a liver transplant following a diagnosis of autoimmune hepatitis. My condition came on very suddenly, and it was all very much a surprise transplant. But yeah, since then I've been very lucky that my new liver is very happy, all going well.
Thank you for sharing, and I can completely imagine a surprise transplant was something that come across as a bit of a shock. And it's really interesting to see your perspective from the two of you about how important peer support is for you guys. So I can't wait to explore more. I mean, what would life be like without this friendship now anyway? Pleasure having you both on, and I'm really looking forward to today's podcast.
A quick fire question. Could you both name 5 of your biggest pieces of support that you have utilised during any part of your liver journey?
It's so hard to pick. Okay, quick fire. Gun to my head. Well, Mollie, for one, definitely. My family support, the wider family, and also my immediate. Non-alcoholic alternatives have definitely been a huge support. Amazing friends, particularly at uni. And yeah, really understanding people. Oh, the final one. This is really hard. This is really, really hard. My medication has been helpful and supportive. Yeah, it's really been there for me. Really stuck it through.
Yeah, no, that's some good ones there. Mollie, what would your 5 be?
My 5, my family for 1, Gemma for 2. I used to find watching YouTube videos and looking at Instagram posts really helpful, just to look at other people's transplant stories and kind of not comparing it to mine, but knowing what mine could be like. I did find that helpful. Also, I can't believe I haven't said this before. My biggest support has been CLDF.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
How have we only just thought of this? I think without CLDF, I don't know where I'd be, to be honest. I don't think I need to say a 5th one.
Amazing. There's some really good answers, and it's really nice that obviously, yes, you both consider CLDF to be a massive support to you both. And again, family, friends, bits in between like medication. There are some excellent choices, and I can completely see why you've chosen those key words. So thank you for those quick fire questions, and hopefully we can find out a little bit more about them as we go on. So I didn't know if you want to tell our listeners today how you both met and became friends.
Yeah. So we met in 2020 in February half term, when we both decided to take part in the Talk How Transform project by CLDF. And I think from the minute I first saw Gemma, I was like, yep, you're going to be my friend. I was like, whether you like it or not, Gemma, you're stuck with me now. And I think from that week, we realised that after the week ended, that it would be such a shame if we were to never like speak to each other again. And I think, straight after the week, we went into lockdown, didn't we? And like we FaceTimed
every day, basically. Every single day. And completely. I think we just felt like this was a lifelong thing, and actually it was so important. And the most important part for particularly our lockdown experiences was having each other, because not only did we kind of understand the lockdown experience and the struggles of that, but we also understood each other in a different way, because we had this different bond. It's a unique, special, really important thing. And we haven't stopped talking since, really, have we?
No.
So what do you think you two bonded over? What made your friendship click and connect with one another?
I think we both just realised how much we valued each other, and how we both came into each other's lives at a very important, very like significant time.
We both brought different experiences, but we were both on the same page, I think, because obviously Mollie's situation has been much more recent and very sudden, really intense experience, and mine's been kind of drawn out over a longer period of time. And even though like some people would say, oh, that's not even in the same boat, what was that quote that you said about being in different, we're all weathering the same storm just from different lifeboats? We definitely just felt like we didn't even necessarily acknowledge that we had a liver condition until like maybe day 2. But we just kind of knew like, oh, we've got something different here. And when we like heard each other's stories, it was like, oh my gosh, like we've been through so much of similar stuff, not the same but similar, that only we would understand. So it was very special, we'll bond.
I think it's that level of understanding, like you say, as well, though. I mean, friendships can happen just based on the fact that you get on, your personalities are compatible, you can have a laugh. Clearly, you two like a good giggle. It's just really nice to know that between you two, you have that peer support. And if anything, you know, you're having a bad day, you can message each other. You've got similarities and you've gone through experiences that you can both relate to. So really valuable support when you have somebody that completely understands what it's like and what you're going through. And Katie, I know that obviously you yourself can relate to this because you also have friends that you've made through CLDF and through your journey, and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely. It's like Gemma was saying, it's a unique bond that you have, and you might not see these people, you might see them once a year, but that time you see them once a year, it's as if you've never been apart. So, it's crazy.
How often do you girls get to meet up, maybe in a year?
Well, beforehand,
this year, a lot.
This year, before I came to university, which happens to be more local to Mull than we were before. We probably saw each other maybe every 5 months, maybe.
So.
But we speak regularly on FaceTime. But now I can't get rid of her. It's actually a pain. Because we're much more local to each other. It's only like a short train ride. Every few months.
So, girls, what does CLDF mean to you both?
When I was younger, particularly in like my early teenage years, I didn't want to acknowledge the fact that I had a liver condition because I felt that it othered me. I felt that it was a really difficult thing and that I didn't want to even associate myself with having a liver condition and that being a part of my identity. And then just on a whim, I signed up for the weekend away with CLDF just because I felt quite isolated, really isolated in my experience. And then there I met a whole community of people. And I think that's what we feel most, is that it is a community of supportive individuals that make a family. And I think that's my main takeaway from CLDF, is just the friendships you make and the support that you get, even online, because we have Hive and Hive Plus, but in person as well. In the events that we've been to, we found so encouraging and interesting.
I get very emotional when I think about CLDF. Before Taught How Transform, I was very, very lonely. It was just not a good time.
Yeah.
And since then, my life has just improved so much in so many different ways. I think I'm just so grateful, really. Yeah, I am. Throughout lockdown, especially, you know, the hangouts, the quiz. Like without that, I would have. It would have been
miserable.
It was so great to have 8 to like 10 other girls on this Zoom, and we all just like understood each other, and we were all isolating. We all couldn't go out.
Yeah.
And even though we've never met each other in real life, I feel like I've met everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will always remember doing the pamper day on Zoom.
Yes. Oh my
That was
god.
so good.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Everybody was face masked up, weren't we? Just sitting there with
I love the
crying
baby one as
smile
well.
on our face.
Yeah.
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 And then we'd all go wash it off and come back. You know? Oh no, but that is so lovely for you to obviously voice that to others, because I think as a new young person, which you've both been at some point to the charity, I mean, we see it that some young people can be quite shy, it can be quite daunting, they don't know what to expect, and that's something that we try and tell them about. Like, actually, once you've took that first step, it can really help you in ways that you don't imagine. That's why I think your story for the friendship that you guys have just goes to show, actually, if you engage and you try it, you never know where you're going to end up. And in your case, you've ended up visiting each other, going out for a day trip and FaceTiming each other all the time.
I'd just like to say that, I mean, I know at the minute, I'm not sure, like, if Taught How Transform would ever, like, I'm not sure if you'll do it again, but I'd say that if people even think about doing it, then they should definitely do it, because I did it and I was under a year after my transplant, so I hadn't had like a full year yet being post-transplant, and the thought of being away from home, the thought of being away from my mom was terrifying, like so scary, because it was just, I was like, oh my god, something bad is going to happen. And like all these thoughts go through your head. You're like, I've got to take my tablets, like all these people that I don't even know. But I'd never felt more comfortable within a group of people, like ever. Yeah,
completely.
Yeah. And like the thing is, when we became friends, we didn't know about each other's brothers and sisters, any pets we had, where each other's lived, but we know each other's like full-on live a life story. We told each other our darkest secrets before we knew like what a middle name was. I was like, so you know this, and this, but what's your favourite colour? You know, it was.
Yeah, like you know more of the personal stuff before you even built that structure friendship.
And then after that, like now, just like we tell each other anything, really, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. There isn't any issue that's too big.
No.
It almost seems like your friendship just clicked straight away.
Yeah. We were like two pieces of jigsaw.
It's really nice to see how that trip has ultimately changed your life. It's changed your route in life, hasn't it? You know, you've gained a lifelong friend that understands. And like you say, part of that as well, I guess you've kind of gained wider in terms of each other's families as well, because you know, you do visit each other's homes, don't you? And I've heard all about your, what was it, Legoland trip?
Oh, best day of my life. It was amazing.
It was so funny when Gemma told me she wanted to go Legoland for her birthday. I was like, what? I was like, you're 21 and you're telling me you want to go celebrate at Legoland? I was like, it was the most like least Gemma thing I was expecting to come out of her mouth, but it was so good.
It was the best day ever.
So good.
Best day ever. No. So I was going to ask you both, what advice would you give to other young people who aren't sure about seeking support from the charity?
Just do it. I think it's really blunt to put it like that, but actually the moment that you let go and realize that actually it's what you might find something that you didn't even know you were missing is such a pivotal moment. Like the moment that I just decided, oh, actually, like I think I probably would like to meet some people in the same boat as me was actually so like refreshing. And you just get in touch with people that just get it, and I wouldn't want to kind of want anybody to feel like they were deprived of any kind of potential friendships or anything like that, because we have literally found such a sense of fulfillment through it. And so just like as Mol said, like if you have a thought about doing it, just do it. Just do it, because you are putting yourself out there, and it is kind of
Scary.
daunting, scary, all of that. Everybody else is daunted and scared as well. And so if anything, you bond more. So I would say just do it.
Definitely. And I'd say that you're only going to get the support out of it like how much you depend on how much you want it. Like I feel like we've been very involved with CLDF, which I think has benefited us both in getting what we have out of it. So I definitely say like just do it and do everything, because you won't regret anything.
No, absolutely.
You wouldn't get the most out of it if you didn't attend the Zoom sessions, for instance, would you? You wouldn't know what goes on in that session. I always say the group that are on there are lovely. You could find a group of young people, especially when you're nervous, especially when you're a bit shy. So that's like it's a safe space, isn't it? And it's almost like you might feel a bit uncomfortable because you're out of your comfort zone. You don't know who these people are, but actually, if you turn up regularly, you then start to build that bond, and that's something that I can't force someone to turn up, can I? So it's about getting them to just take that plunge and get involved. And
also I think as well, just knowing that there is no shame in any of what you have to contribute. There is no, like, you don't have to be 100% when you come onto any Zoom calls, or 100% when you go to any event. You can be in any stage of your life, and the support will be there. You do not have to. There is no judgment. There is no embarrassment.
No judgy Janets.
No judgy Janets. It's just lovely and supportive, and you don't need to hide anything or withhold anything, because people just get it in a different way.
There is definitely no judgment when we all sit there with face masks on our face in front of
There
is no judgment when I've had Zoom calls with people doing their hair while they're getting ready. There is I've had a few different Zoom calls. I'm like, I'm glad we've got this great, relationship that it's just like, to be honest, I always describe our young people's service as a family. One big family. And I don't know if you girls agree, but I personally think that the bond is there, that everybody's got each other's backs, haven't they?
Definitely. Like the other week I met someone on a Zoom, and I'd never met her before, and by the end of it, it's like we'd known each other for ages. that was like half an hour.
Exactly.
And they usually end up that once you've had that first initial conversation, people then take that conversation elsewhere. So WhatsApp groups form, don't they? Or people will mess each other on Facebook and be like, oh yeah, I just saw you on the chat, like, can we talk? And that's what happens. Thank you for sharing your experiences on that.
So what advice would you give to parents about seeking support from the charity?
It is unlike anything else when your child is unwell and needs support, and you need support just as much as your child does. I know that my parents in particular benefited so much from meeting yours, and from events and things like that. I think part of it is seeing your child flourish in that environment as well.
Well, I'll speak a bit for my mum here, because I know how my mum feels. And when I was going through my transplant and my stay in hospital, my mum and dad and Ruby all included, just my whole family, my close family, they didn't have any support. And I think it's only really after that they've realised that they had no support since I've been in contact with CLDF, that they realised all the support that was out there but that they didn't get. And I think I've spoken to you, Louise, and I've told Michelle that that's how they feel. And now I know that young people in my position, they are getting support from CLDF at that age, which I think if that was me, it would have made a whole lot of difference in how I felt, just because I felt so oh my God, I'm 17 and how has this just happened to me now? And I didn't know anybody that was going through the same thing. There was no leaflet of like stories that like my mum and dad could look at and feel any like reassurance from. Yeah, so my mum and dad, they didn't have any support when I was going through it, but now they know that it is out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Mollie, I can imagine that being quite a difficult time for you and your family, especially not knowing about CLDF and being able to get hold of the resources and leaflets that you can access. And that's why it's so important to try and raise awareness of the charity and childhood liver disease in itself. But what makes your story so unique is that although you two have found a friendship, because you've met outside, gone out for day trips, been to each other's houses, your parents have then been able to meet, and it's really lovely to hear now that they have got that peer support, but between obviously the two parent groups, which I can imagine is a massive help to them and has been probably for you. And I'm sure like you two, they get on very well, and if they ever did need support, they're always aware now that CLDF are somewhere that they can have that conversation.
No, absolutely. I think when you are diagnosed or when you go through a transplant, it doesn't just affect one person.
No.
It affects everybody near, and it changes the shape of everybody's lives. I mean, my parents, when I was 7, like my dad had to come in at 10 o'clock every night with a roll of ham that I had to have with my zinc tablets because I had to have some protein. And that's a huge, it's a huge commitment to kind of sustaining your wellness. And so if there's a way that you can be supported as a parent, then CLDF is it.
Yeah.
I was going to say that for parents who have children who are maybe diagnosed at an early age, like I was, get your child and get you involved like as soon as possible, because I grew up always knowing who CLDF were and the support they give and the support they gave to my parents whenever I was first diagnosed as a baby. Being the first child of the family as well, I think really, really helped. So the best advice would be just get involved as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Thank you, Katie. That's some really good advice. And we like to reassure people that once they are aware of us, don't ever feel like you can't call or text, because we recognise that journeys are different, they change, they go up, they go down, and it's just the case that we know sometimes you might not necessarily need the charity because life is very smooth and it's on its way, but then there may be a day where you actually do need us, and that's the day that we will answer the phone. And that's why, like Katie, for instance, your family's been involved with the charity, your whole life, and you're very strongly involved with CLDF just as much as now Gemma and Mollie are. People are welcome at any time to get advice, support whenever they need it, and we always love to hear from people. So even if we don't have to give advice, support, it's just lovely to catch up and see where everybody is at. So let's have a little explore about what life was like before you knew each other.
Well, I think Mollie summed it up with the boring. I think in particular, I didn't have very understanding friends when I was at school who just understood it. So for example, I don't drink, and there were certain cultures within my school that was kind of like a weird thing. So it was really a very lonely time, and you do feel very isolated and you do kind of really struggle. For example, like my medication has to be kept in the fridge. So if I was ever going and staying over at somebody's house, I would have to ask their parent if I could put my meds in the fridge. And I used to feel a huge amount of embarrassment with that. I used to feel like an imposition, just like a kind of, oh, please, sir, please, may I put my meds in your fridge? Just really annoying. But then since hearing everybody else's situations and realizing, oh, that is something that happens to everybody. And since meeting you and knowing that we've shared so much of a similar situation, I was like, oh, I'm not on my own here. This is great.
Yeah.
Basically, Gemma, you're always welcome to put your meds in Mollie's fridge.
Don't even have to
ask.
There's a shelf just for you.
Yeah, there's just a shelf is there with Gemma's name on it. Oh, and Mollie, what would you say life was like before you knew Gemma?
Miserable. No, it sounds so funny, but it's so true.
Yeah.
Like, I've never met anyone as funny, as loving, as beautiful as Gemma. Yeah, but it's so true. Like, I think Gemma is my best friend and soulmate. I get a bit lost for words.
Yeah.
It sounds so funny. You don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because it's like I can't even. I don't want to think about what life was like before.
Yeah. It was bleak.
Gemma. Yeah.
Everything was in black and white.
Yeah, like
Now it's colour.
I had friends, but through like my time in hospital, I lost connection with like my group of friends from high school, I'd say. So I only had maybe like 3 friends, and I still have them 3 friends.
Yeah.
But it's like just so much better now.
Yeah.
Like
Like it would have really helped that if you'd have known Gemma when you was in hospital,
Yeah.
that probably would have made your journey at that time a lot more easier.
But I think we were also meant to meet when we did. Because I think we both met at a really pivotal point in like our friendship journeys.
It's like we were telling each other and we were like, oh my god, I'm having that as well. Like, that's what my friends are like.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like we felt quite empty and quite kind of hollow in our friendship situations before we met each other, and then it was like, oh well, no, I'm sorted now, fixed now, thank you.
It's like they say, don't they, like what life throws at you sometimes is just what you need.
We were absolutely meant to meet when we did, and Mol's just been there in ways that like nobody else has been or will be ever again.
And we do things for each other without thinking that that just like feels like so right within a friendship, but when we do it to each other, we're like, oh my god, like why have you done that for me? But it's like it's just what like a friendship should have.
Exactly. Love you.
Lovely. It's lovely to hear about it, and it's lovely that you both can actually compliment each other, you can praise each other, and that is it's a good quality to have. It just goes to show how much actually your friendship does mean to each other. And you can go and celebrate after this podcast.
You to see Louise as well, because like we both tell you how good friends we are, but now like you
the evidence is right here.
That's very true. I can quite clearly see that when you are together your weekends are very fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so would you say distance is a barrier, and if so, how have you overcome the barrier?
I would say that it's worth it for the distance. Like the distance is worth it for the friendship. There we go. The distance is worth it for the friendship. Because the emotional distance between us is not that's not a thing, and we make it work. We just do.
It's not like because we live far away that we feel far away from each other. I think FaceTime is the third friend.
The third person in this relationship. No, for sure. I actually don't think it's necessarily played a major role in how close we have got. Like there are times when our timings are like incompatible or whatever, like due to uni or whatever, but we are regardless there for each other every day. And even just like little messages or little things, little kind of acknowledgements of the other person's situation, that makes the distance feel like nothing. It makes you feel like you're in the room. And I take Mollie if she was in
don't
Australia.
get me wrong, some days there's times where I think, oh, I wish Gemma was like 5 minutes around the corner, and it's like, oh no, she's like 2 hours away. But then it makes the time we spend together so much
it's
better.
Precious. It's really precious, and we just laugh the whole
time.
Like
I remember the first time I saw you after TTT, and I was like, I forgot what you look like. I forgot like how tall each other was.
You've got a mole there. No, for sure. I think like of course, like any distance is daunting. Like when you find out where people live in relation to you and it's not immediately close, that can often be a reason why people aren't kind of as willing to get invested. But it is an investment, and so things like we're living in a modern age, guys. We're living in a modern age of technology, and so use those tools, use the Hive group chats, and use FaceTime and things like that, because the distance it can be daunting, but not when your friendship is
and
there.
If you truly want the friendship to work, it will feel like you're not even trying to make the friendship work.
For sure.
It will just be like, oh yeah, like I remember when, like, even now when we FaceTime, I get excited for a FaceTime
Yeah.
because it's like we're in each other's rooms.
Yeah,
Isn't
exactly.
it? It's like, oh yeah, FaceTime Gemma, but
Yeah.
really it's like,
Yeah.
I could be sat next to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you don't have to have an agenda
No.
when you talk to each other. You don't have to have like a I must ask these questions or anything like that. Like it's a case of you do it for the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I completely understand like the whole
definitely.
long distance thing.
Yeah. But if
very
you're,
much,
yeah,
but-
like I said, if you truly both want the friendship to work, there's no reason why
It
it
can't.
won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be fair, like it just means a little bit more planning, I guess, so that
Yeah.
you know if you book it in advance, you know that date's coming up, isn't it? And that
Exactly. There's admin with every friendship, and so it's just a little bit more intricate with a long distance.
I have to have a folder for this admin friendship rather than a notebook.
I mean, if you were joining these girls, you'd be catching a flight, wouldn't you? So
Yeah, that's like last Christmas, I think one of my friends through CLDF, she flew over to Belfast for a few days, and I'm planning to go over like after Christmas
Yeah.
So exciting.
to her. So it's just like, but actually I think sometimes, although I'm in Belfast, someone may be at one side of England and another one at the other, but it's actually quicker for me to jump on a plane and go across rather than like get the train from like, I don't know, London to wherever.
Yeah.
So
it just means you get more holidays as well,
Yeah.
don't you? Get to see
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I have this is definitely a requirement of the friendship, so I definitely have to hop on a plane and go take a week-long holiday to see my
I
friends.
always say if you pinpointed where everybody in the CLDF network is in the UK, you could see the whole of it if you wanted to.
Exactly. Tour.
Yeah.
You're like a swap and change program. Like. But yes, no. I remember when you said, "Oh, I've been to Legoland," I was like, "Oh, that's because she's gone down towards London."
Yeah.
Like,
I was telling Louise the other day that like when you came to my house and I showed you Tamworth Castle.
Yeah. I got to see the great sights of Tamworth.
You showed me Legoland and I saw you saw lovely Tamworth.
Yeah, I did. So excited.
You saw a town, did you, Gemma?
I did. Tango Ice Blast Town.
Oh. So here's another question. How do you see each other's journeys? Now you know each other so well.
That's a good one.
Good
You've got us
question.
there, Louise.
Yeah. Let me analyse you. So I have seen Mol's confidence grow since the first time that I met you. We were just kind of like looking at each other across the room, like hello, like it's all quite nervous, like taking kind of baby steps and everything. And since like we've had so many opportunities to talk so openly about our own experiences and to be so honest and so raw, that I've just seen Mole glow actually over the last 2 years in particular. It's just the confidence in talking about her transplant, because initially you really could not talk about it.
Like I think even the thought of doing this podcast would be scary.
Exactly. And since like finding each other, and we talk about kind of our livers almost quite regularly, and so it just kind of normalizes it. And so to see Mole like really come into her own and like be so present on the group chats and really enjoying the Hive hangouts and all of that, it's just been like, I just feel so proud. Yeah, that's how I see your journey.
I think proud is a good way to sum like how we view each other. Really,
completely.
Proud. I think it can be difficult to put yourself in other one's shoes because it's only unique to them, their experience. Although mine happened very suddenly, I think for Gems to have gone through like her whole life having a liver condition, like as she mentioned, like going through school with that, like the non-drinking, like I know that was very hard for you. Like I couldn't imagine what that would have felt like to have felt so like isolated in a group of people that are meant to be your friends. Like I think that just seems so hard, but yet so wrong that that's how it was for you. Like I don't think anyone should like ever be made to feel like that. And just because you don't drink doesn't mean that you can't have fun. Like Gemma's the most fun person I've ever met, you know. And I think
as well it's important to acknowledge that like we are not by any kind of sense of the word at the end of our journeys. We have not reached the end point. We still have rubbish days. We still have days where we just think, oh, for goodness sake, and why me, and all of those questions that as someone with a liver condition has asked themselves.
The why
is a big one.
A nasty word.
Exactly. Nasty. But I think like no journey ever is straightforward, but having each other makes it a little less bumpy, and you feel like you've got someone's hand to hold the whole time. And so we are not perfect people. We don't claim to be that by any stretch, and our relationship, you know, is so important as a result of that. I think and
I think also I'm very lucky that like I met Gemma kind of at the beginning of my liver. Really, it was near the beginning, really. Only like a year. Whereas like Gemma, you've like not waited longer, but do you know what I mean? Like you've had longer to go without having this friendship. Whereas I'm very lucky in that I've had this friendship from the start of mine.
Whereas there was many years of Gemma's childhood where it wasn't until her teens, really.
I wish I could have like spy on Gemma's friendships, and I would have like picked them all out and gone bye.
You would have been there as a helping hand, Mollie.
Always.
A bit like a conscience on the shoulder. Gemma, they're not worth it. That one. But no, everybody's journey is shaped by their experience, isn't it? And it brings you to where you are today. So as the youth worker of the charity, I would say obviously between you guys, I've seen, like you say, confidence, independence. And it's nice to see that as you enter into adult life that you have one another to support each other, because adult life can bring some challenges when you're having to look after your own health and manage your own medication, appointments. And so it's really good that you two have each other to ask those questions and support one another through this. That's where you guys are at the moment, really, aren't you? You're both at uni, and obviously you've spoke about some of the challenges already. Like Gemma, you just said, didn't you? Like non-alcoholic beverages are one of your key words of how to manage that situation. But what would you advise parents in terms of letting their young person start to manage their independence and health?
For this one, my parents have only ever made me be independent, so that's all I've ever known. Like, yes, to start with, they supported me more, but going to appointments and managing medications, things like that, I've always took control of that myself. And I think that's because that's what I felt I could control in a situation that was very uncontrollable, what was happening. Like I couldn't control what was happening to me, but what I could control, like taking tablets and appointments, I felt like that was important for me to do that. So, and I think because that's all I've ever known, it doesn't feel scary like having to do it yourself.
For me, I think there's been much more of a transition because I was diagnosed so young, but I was always informed about my condition and what it meant for me, what it meant for my body, what it meant for me socially. And my parents always explained to me so clearly like what each of my medications meant and why I needed to take them and everything. And that's so crucial because it builds in kind of this intrinsic sense of, oh, I need to do this for myself. It is hard being an independent person with a liver condition. It really is. And you do have to kind of live differently, but it's not impossible. And I think my advice to parents would be trust your child, but inform them as to why they need to be living this way. It's really hard, but I felt really kind of safe in the knowledge that like the medication that I was taking, it was for a purpose. It wasn't just like because, oh, my doctor's annoying and he's making me do all of this, all of that. It's more like when you understand kind of the process, the whys, it really helps. But you have to be willing to let your child be independent. And when I went to university, I felt really overwhelmed initially, but I organised my, what's it called, the disability service. Oh yeah, I had to change doctors, I had to apply for a disability students allowance, a DSA, and things like that. And doing that by myself actually really kind of grounds you. You have to appreciate your condition as a part of identity and who you are. And yes, it's annoying, but it has to be done, and taking ownership of it also gives you a sense of kind of control. So yeah,
some parents struggle to, you know, pass that responsibility on because that's all they've ever done with that child, especially diagnosed at a young age. But I was going to ask you, what advice would you give to parents who, you know, are willing to take that step to let that young person manage their advice, but what could they do to kind of support that young person or get involved with that young person, just so they feel like they've still got a sense of involvement, but they're still allowing that young person to have that sense of independence and start to manage their own health?
Maybe they could like say, like as you're older now, like I think you need to take a bit more like responsibility. So why don't you start looking at like your tablets and your medications, but I'll still sort out like your appointments. So it's like half split. So not all the responsibilities switched. Like it's still very half. Or you could just be like, oh, if the young person wanted to then take full responsibility of their things, then the parents could be like, okay, you can do that, but like just let me know, like still keep me like in the loop of like what's going on.
There are ways that you can be supportive as a parent without necessarily needing to take the reins. Like you can go to an appointment with your child, you can go and you can be involved, but just making sure that there's an understanding of the levels of responsibility there. And I think just being there emotionally is possibly the most important out of all of them. But I absolutely, as Mol says, there are ways of going around it. It's whatever works for you. You know, if you feel as a person with a liver condition, I think I would be best at managing my meds if my parents or guardians sort out when I'm next going into hospital, if they sort out my transport, that would be helpful. There are ways of sharing the load.
Thank you. That's some really good advice to hear, because some parents do struggle with the transition as their young person is getting a little bit older and more independent. So it's great that you've shared some lovely top tips there. Katie, what was your experience like growing up and obviously your transition to becoming independent?
Yeah, so I think like from my own experiences, like my mom always encouraged me to be independent from like quite a young age, and I think being the eldest of like 6, that has helped. But like I was taking my own medication from I was maybe 13, 14, going into my own appointments at probably 15, 16, obviously relaying the information to my mom like after. But I think because there was 6 of us, like I kind of took on that responsibility onto myself, because although my mom was always there, she might have been busy with like another sibling, or like I couldn't take all the attention. So I think like from a young age, she encouraged me to be very independent, and she always like made sure I understood my condition, and like if I didn't, like say I got a letter and it was all this technical hospital talk, I'd be like, Mom, what does this mean? Because she's a nurse as well, so she would like understand what it meant, whereas I didn't. So she would explain to me like what it was. And now if I'm like, oh, like next week I have an OGD appointment, I'm like, right, Mom, I have this appointment. She's like, right, are you getting to it? And that's me when I'm 25. So I think the young person was diagnosed from a young age, encouraging that responsibility and independence from like secondary school really is so important, because then it's not a big jump whenever you're 16, 17 and thinking about going to university or maybe going to sleepovers or anything like that. It definitely helped me anyway.
Thank you. But yeah, speaking about university, I just wanted to touch upon what you are both studying. Did you want to let everybody know and how that's going?
Yeah, so I'm at the Uni of Warwick and I'm doing theatre and performance, so second year. It's going well. I'm currently living in Leamington Spa, rather than on campus. And yeah, it's so exciting. It's really exciting course, really great people that I've met. And yeah, no, it's going really well. And it means that I'm closer to you, which is always great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm a second year student nurse at Birmingham City University. I'd say I'm very proud to be a student nurse.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of it's a very difficult course to be on. But when I put my uniform on, I can't believe that I'm actually a student nurse.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be a student nurse, so I take every opportunity that I can. And yeah.
Big sense of achievements there for both of you. So, I mean, we wish you all the best with your education, and you'll soon be graduating, really. It won't be that long. I was going to say, university flies by, doesn't it?
No.
It does.
I didn't believe it.
Yeah, I believe it now.
Yeah, I know. Everybody tells you, oh, university goes by really quickly. You're like, oh, it doesn't seem it. And then you're in it. You're like, where did that time go? So...
Yep, it is surprising how quick it all flies by, and just like this podcast, it's gone very quick. And I just wanted to finish off. Is there any advice you would like to give to our listeners?
If you are putting yourself into a new situation, if you are going to a CLDF event or something like that, or uni, or something where you have to meet lots of people and you feel like there's kind of an elephant in the room with your condition, or something that you feel like if you feel your condition needs to be brought up, then just bring up however much you want to bring up. There is no kind of sense of like, I must bear my entire story to you right now. If people are supposed to be in your life, they will understand and accept what you have to say point blank, and however much of what you want to say. And so if you feel like today all you want to say is, oh yeah, I can't drink, then that's all you have to say, and you don't owe it to anybody to bare your soul in any way. But we have benefited from bearing our souls. But you just do your experience on your terms. Yeah.
And I'd like to say that if there's anybody out there that's just going through the start of their liver diagnosis or have just had a transplant, I'd say that although at the minute life might seem impossible and life might seem really rubbish, like, things will get better.
Thank you, Mollie. Thank you, Gemma. I mean, what you've shared today has been eye-opening to how much friendship can really help in times of need, and how much that peer support is really valued. And it'll be really valuable to our listeners to hear about what's got you through
to where you are today. So we couldn't thank you enough for that. Thank you so much for coming on today. But yeah, I mean, you two are quite, you love, I always find that you love quotes. They kind of
You
really love a quote.
Do you want to sum up maybe just one quote that would be the one that you want to end this podcast with? What would be like your favourite quote that gets you by?
I know. I'm going to look at my inspirational quotes on my wall right now.
You're looking around the room.
No. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I feel like ones to go for are things like don't worry and all of that, but that's a really kind of, you will worry in your time. I think the lifeboat one kind of works really well, what we spoke about earlier.
What was the lifeboat one? Remind us of that one.
You may like be going through the same storm, but everybody's in a different ship.
And where did you find that? Where did you find
wasn't it something to do with COVID?
I think it
came
was
out during lockdown.
Yeah. It was
really?
Everybody's going through the same like.
You can't judge everybody by the same standard.
Yeah.
But it just felt really relevant as well to not just COVID, but what everyone goes through. Yeah. Oh.
Nice one.
Well, I would like to thank you both for coming on today, sharing your stories. Really valuable, and it's so lovely to hear, obviously, how well you both are and your friendship, and how that is a massive support to one another. I mean, we really couldn't thank you enough for what you've said about the charity as well, because it helps to raise awareness, but also it helps for others to see the value of the charity's work, and especially at times at the moment, you know, that we need all the support we can get as well. And yeah, and obviously we are always there for you guys and for parents. So yeah, thank you again for coming on and joining us.
For those that are listening in, it's lovely that you've joined us on CLDF Chatter. I am the Young People's Officer, so if you do need any support from listening to this podcast, or there's any concerns that you may have or advice that you might need, please do contact us on Hive, our online Facebook group chat, or you could email ypo@childliverdisease.org, or alternatively you can call us on 0121 212 3839, and we look forward to hearing from you.